Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I will be delivering to you a presentation to express the topic of human trafficking, which is a serious problem in the United States and the world. So without further ado, let's get started. Human trafficking is the act of forcing people into labor or sexual acts with little to no pay. This is why human trafficking is very illegal, going against the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which states that slavery or involuntary servitude is illegal unless it is a federal punishment. It is a violation of basic human rights and a serious crime that should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. In the US, it is very difficult to find the total number of people trafficked, but estimates lie between 100,000 and 325,000. The Department of Health and Human Services estimated that between 240,000 and 325,000 are trafficked a year. Across the world, it is estimated that 49.6 million people were trafficked at any time in 2021. An important law regarding human trafficking is the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which was introduced in the year 2000. It includes protection, prevention, and prosecution, as well as attempts to assist the people who have been subjected to human trafficking. This new law is used due to previous laws not being enforced well enough. In order to help combat future occurrences of human trafficking, the State Department came up with a national action plan that outlines a 3-year approach to stop human trafficking. The plan includes actions to strengthen the prosecution of traffickers, enhance the protection of the victims in human trafficking, and other methods of preventing more trafficking from occurring within our borders. One of the most important court rulings about human trafficking was the 1988 case United States v. Kosminski, which questioned if psychologically coercing someone into forced labor was against the 13th Amendment. The Supreme Court decided that it was not against the 13th Amendment, which caused Congress to retaliate by broadening the range of the amendment to include psychological coercion as a method of human trafficking. As of January 2023, about 49% of adult Americans rank sex trafficking as one of their top 3 concerns in crime. 55% of younger Americans rank sex trafficking as one of their top 3 concerns in crime, and Americans don't have a consensus as to where trafficking is most prominent in America. As well as this, about 1 in 5 adults in America believe that there is a high risk of trafficking in their area. In July 2022, Norway passed the Transparency Act. This act aims to identify and assess potential negative impacts on human rights/decent working conditions in companies, publish an account of this by June 30th of each year, and respond to public requests about how a company addresses negative impacts on human rights and decent working conditions. This will force companies to be truthful, which can bring potential human trafficking to light. As of 2023, North Korea is one of the worst offenders of human trafficking. The government of North Korea does not seem to have an interest in ending human trafficking there. In fact, North Korea's government takes part in human trafficking, using labor camps that fund government operations. An organization known as the Polaris Project is dedicated to ending human trafficking. They have worked to identify situations, help victims and survivors recover, and help train people in spotting human trafficking, as well as educate people on the subject of human trafficking. If you visit their website, you can donate to them in order to help support their campaign against human trafficking. QAnon, a far-right organization, seems to be against human trafficking, favoring a movie called Sound of Freedom that is against human trafficking. However, they make idiotic claims, often leading to misinformation being spread and lots of confusion and misrepresentation of human trafficking. They also could just be claiming to be against human trafficking to slander the left, but we cannot say for certain. In West Virginia, the West Fusion Center, in a collaboration with other organizations, local, state, and federal law enforcement is committing time to find people who are being trafficked. As well as this, they are also dedicating resources to help those who have been physically freed from trafficking recover both physically and mentally. Ever since taking office as Massachusetts Attorney General, Andrea Joy Campbell has worked to reduce human trafficking by sharing materials to educate and inform people about human trafficking. She also wrote a letter in support of an act that will strengthen justice and support for sex trade survivors in Massachusetts. There is also training available to help spot human trafficking. The Enhancing Detection of Human Trafficking Act is a bill that has not been passed yet. If it is passed, it will force the Department of Labor to train employees on how to spot human trafficking. This would be beneficial as human trafficking would be cut down on by these employees. However, it could cause traffickers to become more wary, at least in theory. Unfortunately, human trafficking scandals are becoming more common as time progresses. The government is still trying its best to combat human trafficking incidents, but depending on how well strategized the traffickers are, it could become impossible to uncover the trafficking unless a victim escapes and tells the authorities. Nonetheless, the government is still doing everything it can to help prevent further incidents. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Here are our sources.